Bob Dylan disappeared from the spotlight, and the silence that followed was overwhelming. For 7 years, he remained offstage, leaving fans confused and concerned. Some speculated he was burned out, while others whispered rumors of a secret illness. The real reason behind his absence remains unclear. Recently, a startling health update has sent shockwaves through his family and devoted fans, raising questions. What's going on with Dylan's health? What are his loved ones planning? Many now wonder if his family is preparing their goodbyes after a heartbreaking health battle. Dylan's long struggle with health began on July 29, 1966, when he was involved in a serious motorcycle crash near Woodstock, New York. Despite widespread reports of injuries, including a broken vertebra, no hospital records were ever found, keeping the true details of the incident shrouded in mystery. The crash forced Dylan to cancel an upcoming tour and retreat from public life for the next 7 years. In his 2004 autobiography, he confirmed the crash and noted that while he did sustain injuries, he chose to step away from fame to recover and regroup. His health challenges weren't limited to physical injury. During his 1966 tour, Dylan's issues with substance misuse became evident, exposed by a filmmaker who was traveling with him. It was revealed he was heavily using amphetamines and other drugs. A few years later, in a 1969 interview, Dylan admitted to these claims, explaining that the exhausting 5-year tour required substances just to function, not to spark creativity. His battle with alcohol also became public through tapes from his road manager and insights from a memoir by his son, Jacob, titled Another Side of Dylan. One striking revelation was that Dylan passed out drunk for an hour the same day he met the Beatles. Eventually, Dylan overcame both substance and alcohol misuse, driven by a period of depression and suicidal thoughts. In May 1997, Dylan faced a life-threatening medical emergency. Believing he was having a heart attack, he was rushed to the hospital in excruciating pain. There, he was diagnosed with histoplasmosis pericarditis, a rare fungal infection that inflames the protective lining around the heart. The spores, once inhaled, spread through the lungs and fill air sacs with fluid. Dylan's case was advanced, and his heart had become dangerously inflamed. He received swift medical care and stabilized within weeks. This brush with death deeply impacted him and inspired the release of the album Time Out of Mind just 4 months after he left the hospital. The album gained critical acclaim and was reissued 25 years later, often dubbed Dylan's death album. Since then, Dylan hasn't had any widely known health crises, aside from the natural effects of aging. Now 88 years old, he continues to perform, though his energy and agility have noticeably declined. Despite this, he remains active in the music world. His enduring presence still sparks interest and admiration, and many are left wondering, how did this musical legend begin his journey, and what has kept him at the top for so long? Dylan launched his professional music career in 1961 at the age of 19 after moving to New York to make a name for himself. His major breakthrough came in 1965 at the Newport Folk Festival, where his powerful voice and guitar captivated the audience. From that point on, Dylan steadily released music and embarked on continuous tours, eventually earning the nickname The Never-Ending Tour. In a 2022 interview with the Wall Street Journal, Dylan shared that he continues touring to stay grounded and anonymous in everyday life. Over his prolific career, Dylan released more than 30 studio albums. His first solo Grammy came in 1979 for Best Rock Vocal Performance, Male, with the song Gotta Serve Somebody. In 1991, he received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, and in 2010, he won an Academy Award for Best Original Song in Wonder Boys. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988, the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1982, and the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2002. In recognition of his contributions to the arts, he received the Kennedy Center Honors in 1997, the National Medal of Arts in 2009, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012. In 2021, Dylan launched the Rough and Rowdy Ways World Tour to support his 2020 album of the same name. The tour continues through November 2024. In 2023, he released Shadow Kingdom, an album that reimagines older songs. Over the years, Dylan has earned 10 Grammy Awards, a Pulitzer Prize Special Citation in 2008, and the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2016. With over 125 million records sold, he is one of the best-selling musicians in history. Dylan's influence on folk music, particularly through poetic, literary lyrics, is undeniable. His songs Blowin' in the Wind, 1963, and The Times They Are A-Changin', 1964, became anthems for the civil rights and anti-war movements. Yet Dylan's journey hasn't been without controversy. Like many public figures, he faced backlash and scrutiny. One of the earliest controversies arose when he transitioned from folk to electric rock music. Although he successfully released albums in the new style, his live electric debut at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival was met with boos and accusations of betraying his folk roots. Another divisive moment came with his Nobel Prize win in 2016. Some critics believed he didn't deserve the award, arguing that his musical fame overshadowed the literary accomplishments of past recipients like William Faulkner. However, the Nobel Committee defended their choice, honoring Dylan for creating powerful poetic expressions through song. In 2020, Dylan stirred more debate by selling his entire songwriting catalog to Universal Music for $400 million, followed by the sale of his master recordings to Sony Music for $200 million the next year. While some fans felt betrayed, others viewed it as a practical move to secure his estate's future. Then, in 2023, a lawsuit accused Dylan of misconduct, alleging that he drugged and assaulted a 12-year-old girl in 1965, a charge that drew widespread attention and concern. Bob was accused of forming a relationship with the minor to get intimate with her. The lawsuit also stated that the abuse took place at Dylan's apartment multiple times, as well as at the Manhattan Landmark Hotel Chelsea in April and May 1965. While Dylan's attorney described the lawsuit as a lawyer-driven shame, the attorney for the plaintiff did not respond to requests for comment. It was also discovered that the evidence might have been destroyed by the plaintiff's lawyer. However, the judge in charge of the case, Catherine Polk-Viola, dismissed the case and closed it permanently. Concerning his work of art, Bob Dylan was accused of using an autopen to sign limited edition copies of his book The Philosophy of Modern Song, which were marketed as hand-signed. The fans felt betrayed as they noticed identical signatures on the books. Dylan admitted it was an error in judgment, offered an apology, and expressed the desire to make things right. In a Facebook statement, he explained that a severe bout of vertigo made it difficult for him to hand-sign the books. He also mentioned that he was assured the use of an autopen was common in the industry. However, the publisher, Simon & Schuster, confirmed the signatures were mechanically done and offered a full refund to buyers. The books were sold for $599 per copy. Even with his legacy in the music industry, Dylan still dabbles in the entertainment world. The question is, what does he have to offer? Will he be successful? Does he have the creativity to balance his movie and art prowess? A movie was written about his lifestyle with much focus on his early days in music, titled A Complete Unknown. The movie revealed a lot about his relationship with giants in the music world such as Pete Seeger, the music albums he produced, and his romance stories, especially with Joan Baez and Sylvia Russo. It covered 4 years of his life and how he rose to fame in the music world. The film included his music performance at the Newport Folk Festival, where he shocked the crowd and exchanged his acoustic sets for rock and roll. Though the film ended in 1965, it ended in chaos when Dylan was involved in a motorcycle accident. It was later released in 2024. Though the movie earned worldwide acclaim, it still didn't give an accurate timeline and storyline about Bob Dylan's life. Some storylines never happened, while some happened with different timelines. The movie left out some significant stories about Dylan, such as his marriage and musical tours. Dylan also dabbled in art, painting, and writing. He published 9 books of painting and drawings, and his artwork has graced major art galleries. His first book, Tarantula, was a collection of unconnected writing and was published in 1971. He also wrote Chronicles Volume 1, which stayed on the New York bestseller list for 19 weeks. His music was known to be laced with poetic and literary lyrics, which also made him produce an anthology of his lyrics and poetry, writings, and drawings. His songs were used in several movies and events while he graced several platforms to perform. A notable one was when he was invited to perform for the Pope. Another example was in 1973 when he appeared and contributed to the soundtrack of the film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, directed by producer Sam Peckinpah. Dylan went on to write, direct, and produce several movies and became the subject of several documentaries. He also appeared in films such as Ronaldo and Clara, Masked and Anonymous, Eat the Document, I Am Not There, and Hearts of Fire, among others. He also featured in documentaries and concert films such as Don't Look Back, which showcased Dylan's tour of England in 1965, and Rolling Thunder Revue, a Bob Dylan story by Martin Scorsese. Still, the media and fans are interested in any news about this music enigma. So, the question this time is about his love relationships. Who was his true love? Did he find love? Was Dylan married or not? Bob Dylan was rumored to be in different love relationships with various individuals at different points in his life. The one that captured the attention of the media was his relationship with his music partner Joan Baez and political activist Slivi Russo. Bob and Baez started their music collaboration and relationship in the early 1960s. Baez was a known figure in the music street before their relationship started. Joan was charmed by one of Bob's performances and invited him on stage at the Newport Folk Festival. From then, they were featured in several duets. Their relationship lasted till 1965 when Bob called it quits. The breakup inspired Baez's 1975 hit song Diamonds and Rust. In referring back to the relationship in an interview in 2023, Baez revealed that Dylan had forgiven her. She added that they were in their early 20s and didn't have enough wisdom to handle the relationship. They didn't reconnect after their split, but they both continued their music careers separately. Meanwhile, Russo and Dylan had an on and off relationship for years due to disapproval from her parents until the relationship ended in the mid-1960s. Russo was not only his love interest but also influenced his music career by inspiring him to write political songs. However, Dylan moved on to marry his first wife Sarah Loon quietly on November 22, 1965, because she was already with their first child, Jessie. Dylan adopted a daughter whom Sarah had from a previous marriage. The family got bigger over the next 4 years with 3 more children, Hannah, Sam, and Jacob. They raised their family quietly in Woodstock for years before relocating to Malibu, California in 1974. However, their marriage began to unravel the following year when Dylan decided to take art classes with artist Norman Rabin. In an interview, Dylan recalled that when he got home after his classes, his wife changed and never did understand him since that day. Bob and Sarah continued to live together until they finally got divorced in 1977. Though they remained committed to co-parenting their children, a fact their youngest son Jacob later confirmed. After a decade, Dylan went on to welcome a child, Desire Dennis Dylan, with his backup singer Carolyn Dennis on January 31, 1986, before they tied the knot 5 months later. However, their marriage led to separation in 1992. The news about their marriage and daughter was kept secret until 2001. Since then, he has not been involved in any public relationship. Though the world knows about Dylan's musical achievements, a question still lingers in the hearts of many: who was Bob Dylan before fame? Where did he grow up and what was his background in music? The famous folk singer and songwriter was born Robert Zimmerman in 1941 in Hibbing, Minnesota. His father and uncle owned a joint venture called Zimmerman Furniture and Appliance Company. He got attracted to the music of Hank Williams, Elvis Presley, and Little Richard, which led him to get his first guitar in 1955 at the age of 14. When he entered high school, he spearheaded several musical bands and played in a series of rock and roll bands. In 1959, he played piano for rising pop star Bobby Vee before enrolling at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. While schooling, he came across his mentor, the folk singer Woody Guthrie, who influenced him to start performing folk music in coffee shops. It was during this time he adopted the name Dylan. The desire to meet with Guthrie led him to relocate to New York City in January 1961. He quickly joined the pool and started performing at Gerd's Folk City in Greenwich Village, where he charmed the hearts of many who in turn provided meals and shelter for him. Dylan was scouted by John Hammond after Robert Shelton's laudatory New York Times review of one of his live shows and was signed to Columbia Records. Dylan's first album, released in March 1962, met with mixed reviews, but his second album, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, released in 1963, registered his quirky voice in the hearts of youths and affected several families culturally. That same year, he appeared for the first time at the Newport Folk Festival, where he was acknowledged as the king of folk music. Will the world ever forget Bob Dylan? Will his legacy ever be replaced? Share your thoughts in the comments section and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting videos. Also, click on the video on your screen, you will enjoy it.